Hi guys, so with the Oscar nominations coming out in a couple days, I would like to post a little video telling you guys what I think is going to happen. Again, these are kind of my theories, I've collected them from different experts I've seen, other videos, and just generally what would normally get the nomination. So these are not necessarily my opinions or the opinions of other people on the channel. I'm going to leave a few opinions on some of the movies in there because I can't resist talking about movies I either loved or couldn't stand. Also, I'm going to take a moment to highlight some movies that may not be getting as much Oscar love as they should, but I believe that they were great movies and that they are equally worthy as a lot of the top contenders. So in 2018, I really loved Tully, Wildlife, Leave No Trace, First Reformed, Isle of Dogs, and Miseducation of Cameron Post, as well as Thoroughbreds, which had a festival release in 2017, but its wide release and theater schedule was a 2018 movie. I just really liked all of those movies. I think those are equally as good as the top contenders for the Oscars, and I think you should check them out, because a lot of them are better than movies that are probably going to get nominated. So I'm going to start with some of the categories that may not be as popular so we can, kind of ease into it. And then for Best Documentary Feature. So this year we had 4 big blockbuster documentaries, and they all made the short list. However, I don't think they're all going to get there. I can see Three Identical Strangers, although it was a huge thing and a lot of people saw it, it wasn't necessarily as technically or critically good as some of the other options. So I think Minding the Gap and Shirkers are also going to be on the nominee list instead of Three Identical Strangers, but the other 3 big blockbuster ones, as you can see there, are definitely going to get it. And for Best Animated Feature, I don't know why this is up towards the start of it, but I don't know. I think they are not going to go with all of the American films. I think they're going to leave things like The Grinch out, and they're going to nominate a lesser-known Japanese film. This last year, we had a lot of more obscure animated movies make it in, which is great. And also, we had Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs and Into the Spider-Verse, which was absolutely incredible. So we had 2 great things this year. I'm not personally a fan of the Incredibles movies, but I hope it manages to get unseated, as, Pixar always winning this category. And now on to the main film categories. So for Best Sound Mixing, I have some of them here. This is one where they tend to go with musical films. Again, if I list it here, it doesn't mean I necessarily liked the movie. I just think, it had pretty good sound quality in it. And then for sound editing, I also slipped Isle of Dogs there, because that movie was, technically very good. And then A Quiet Place definitely deserves it, but it's probably going to First Man, because the Academy loves Damien Chazelle, and they'll do anything to give an award for something. For Best Score, I'd like to highlight Black Panther, If Beale Street Could Talk, and Isle of Dogs as some of the ones that I personally loved, as well as A Quiet Place. But again, First Man's probably going to get it, because the Academy loves Damien Chazelle. I also found it pretty sad that my 2 favorite scores of the year, which would be the ones in The Favorite and Into the Spider-Verse, didn't make the short list, because Into the Spider-Verse had the whole 90s hip-hop thing and the record scratches, and it was so cool for the movie and so different for a superhero movie. And then The Favorite, which was it went classical music, but it was scored more like a horror movie than anything else, which I thought was really cool, and it kind of highlighted the weird, dark comedy period piece thing that it had going for it, so I actually really loved the score for that as well. So for Best Production Design, I'm going to go with The Favorite. Not only was it my personal favorite movie, but just the entire aesthetic of this movie is so cool. It goes with the history thing, but it has those fisheye lenses and the dark lighting, and every detail is so weird and interesting. Even the paintings on the wall in Queen Anne's bedroom, you can kind of they kind of foreshadow a little bit of what made an old lady scream in the movie theater for this movie. Again, Black Panther also has a chance, because they may go for that. And Roma is probably the most cohesive movie out of all of these. Not only is it black and white, but it's just a beautiful period piece, and I think that may also have a pretty good chance. But this is probably going to The Favorite. For Best Film Editing, you may notice I didn't put The Star is Born. it may get nominated, but I thought the editing was complete crap. With the whole surprise wedding scene, it was kind of a disaster in terms of editing. I think Roma is definitely gonna get this one, but also I'm a big fan of the editing style and the favorite. I think it knew exactly when to pause and which scenes were like more emotional and which weren't, and so I'm just gonna put that as my personal favorite for them. Although Roma definitely deserves the award. For best costume design, again, I think the favorite's gonna get it. I also love the costumes in Black Panther. Um, Mary Queen of Scots, that also is kind of a bad movie, but it did have the really cool, like, they used, I think, anachronistic fabric, or the favorite did this as well, but it's really apparent in Mary Queen of Scots. And then you may also notice I didn't put Mary Poppins there, and I put Colette in there instead. I did like the costumes in Mary Poppins Returns, but I'm just very hopeful that Colette, which is a movie I loved, gets nominations for costumes. It's about Paris in the late 1880s. That's costume gold right there. Like, I think it's just really well done in that department. And then for best cinematography, there's actually two black and white films, and another movie, The Favorite, also doesn't have all that much color, with the exception of the one scene with like Emma Stone, the Great Hall of All the Fire. But yeah, a lot of these films aren't all that colorful, except for Beale Street Could Talk, which the trailer for that looks beautiful. Like it's so colorful in that trailer. Have not gotten to see it yet. I know I need to. And probably when the time by the time this movie comes out, I will probably have seen it. But I think this is Roma's award. First Man, I've heard people talking about it winning. I don't think it looked all that great. I think it's just the Academy likes Damien Chazelle for La La Land and Whiplash. They may give him the award, but I think it was definitely his weakest movie, both aesthetically and just in general. For visual effects, that's basically just blockbusters. I think Infinity War had some of the best visual effects. Black Panther looked great too, but Infinity War did more interesting things with their visual effects. But again, the Academy loves Damien Chazelle. First Man's probably going to get another award. For best makeup and hairstyling, I think it's going to go to Vice, like what happened with Darkest Hour, because the people who judge that category seem to really like the transformations of someone into a fat old guy. I also think Black Panther definitely deserves that, and Mary Queen of Scots, that like that again was one of the only redeeming qualities of that movie, like how like interesting and weird and kind of dark and disturbing some of the makeup that Margot Robbie had on. So that's definitely getting a nomination. For best original song, yeah, we have Shallow. I think that's gonna win. I do love All the Stars as well, but Shallow was to me the only redeeming quality of A Star Is Born. I know plenty of people loved it. I hated that movie. I I might do another video explaining why I didn't like it, but Shallow was like important to the plot, and I think that may help its chances. But for best adapted screenplay, you may notice I put a little movie in there that I loved and no one really thinks is getting nominated, but I slipped it in there because for best adapted screenplay, I'm hoping whoever's judging this will think about writing more than just a best picture nomination or just chances at the most awards and nominate Leave No Trace, which is one of the best like written movies in a while. I've also heard Death of Stalin has chances in that category because it's a very dialogue heavy movie, but it was also so early in the year no one's really talking about it anymore. But I definitely think Black Klansman deserves the award. Like those phone call scenes, like those are so well written. Somehow made a movie about infiltrating the KKK funny in a dark way. Definitely loved that. And then for best original screenplay, I think The Favorite's going to get it. That screenplay's been in development since 1998, but they didn't want to produce a movie that had three female leads and a whole love triangle between them. But yeah, The Favorite, the dialogue, and I need to get my hands on a copy of the screenplay just to look at the whole thing because I'm going just based off of seeing the movie a lot. And I haven't been able to look at the whole thing because I can't find it anywhere online. But The Favorite, definitely with all the dialogue, and it's just so well done. And then I also think Roma's probably going to get Vice because it's a dialogue heavy movie, and I now I'm going to start talking about it. I hated Vice. so much. It was somehow worse than The Big Short, and I hated The Big Short. And wow, I'm kind of mad that's getting Oscar hype because I can't stand that movie. Um, and then also Eighth Grade, another movie that I hated, and it may have actually been my least favorite movie of 2018. But other people loved it, and I've heard it in the conversation as one of A24's big Oscar nomination potential things, like how Lady Bird was a big Oscar thing, so they think Eighth Grade's going to be its successor. I thought Eighth Grade was kind of messy and I couldn't relate to it, but other people liked it. And then I have First Reformed, which is a movie that definitely deserves to be there, but I actually have it knocking Green Book out of the picture because there's been a lot of scandals on the side of Green Book's accuracy to the characters it's portraying, and this is based on real people and not wholly accurate. I feel like Green Book may have an issue there and may be left out of the screenplay race, and I think First Reformed can slip in there. For Best Foreign Language Film, I have Roma as the winner because it's one of the best foreign language films and most hyped of all time right now. But I also feel like that if it goes for the top prize, people may want to reward a second movie, and that's going to go to Cold War, which is also. I've even heard people talking about getting Best Director and Best Picture nominations, even in addition to having just the cinematography in foreign language. So I think Cold War could have a chance if they decide to spread the love a little bit. I think Shoplifters and Capernaum were solid movies that are going to be in that category, and I picked Burning to round out the category just because out of all of them, that's the one I've heard the best things about right now. And it seems to have the most hype and most passionate fans. For Best Director, this is where my list probably differs from other people because I left out a couple big players here. But I'd love to see someone like Deborah Granik or Marielle Heller make it in for movies like Leave No Trace or Can You Ever Forgive Me? It looks like it's going to be a man's race here. Alfonso Cuarón is pretty much, this is his award at this point. He's got it in the bag for Roma. I didn't really like The Star is Born, but people seem to like Bradley Cooper, but his chances may be hurt by the fact that it's going to be like the Ben Affleck thing with Argo, and they're not going to nominate him because he's an actor and director. I have Spike Lee for BlacKkKlansman, which is more of a career pick because he's never actually been nominated before, and he definitely deserves it for that movie. I also have Yorgos Lanthimos for The Favorite. He's had 2 Oscar nominations, one for screenplay and one for foreign language film for The Lobster and Dogtooth. But he hasn't gotten a Best Director, and I feel like he's one of the most interesting and innovative directors out there. He's always trying new and different things with his movies, and I think he definitely deserves it for what he did with The Favorite, which has actually been enough of a crowd pleaser despite his usual weirdness. And then my last pick is Barry Jenkins. He's not really a front runner, but I see the Academy wanting to nominate him for the award after he won Best Picture but not Best Director, and he just made another great movie, and I feel like they may want to reward him for that instead of someone like Peter Farrelly, who's under a bunch of scandals, and Adam McKay, who went from directing Dumb and Dumber to somehow directing movies I hate even more. Now we get on to Best Supporting Actor. This is basically guaranteed to go to Mahershala Ali unless people are worried about having the same actor win the same category only 2 years later. I think Timothée Chalamet is basically guaranteed. He's the current Oscar pretty boy. And I put Sam Elliott in here, which everyone else is going to be like, oh, why is he controversial for you? Listen, I just kind of can't stand the guy. He reminds me of a depressed walrus. I didn't like the movie he was in. He's always kind of bland to me, but he seems to be a pretty big front runner. And then for Best Supporting Actress, now this is the most interesting race for me because there's an actress who I think deserves it. There's an actress who I think deserves it for just her overall body of work, and it's her time to win an Oscar. There's a actress who really tried a new type of character and went for it. And then there's someone whose performance was my personal favorite of the year and like kind of had the most, biggest effect on me, but I don't think she's going to win because it may not be like the most popular. We have Amy Adams, who I know my girl deserves an Oscar, but she had her best performance this year in anything, but that was Sharp Objects, not Vice. I do think she was pretty good in Vice, and she was the only thing that was tolerable. But obviously, you can't get an actress nomination at the Oscars for a TV show, and I know she's going to get the nominations, but I don't see her winning. And I would not like her to win for this. I would like her to win for something that's as good as other things she's done. Like she was robbed for the nomination on Arrival. I think Junebug would have been a perfect win for her, but I don't see her as winning for the Vice. I also threw Claire Foy in the category because I don't know, Oscars like her. She's made the switch from TV to movies, and she was again one of the more tolerable things of the movie she was in. Now we get into the three that are the most interesting with me. So Emma Stone just got an Oscar a couple of years ago, and her acting in The Favorite's better than anything she's done. I think they should cross out La La Land on her Oscar and write in The Favorite. But yeah, I don't see her as getting another Oscar. And then we get to the other performance in that movie that I think was even better. Both Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone are technically lead characters alongside Olivia Colman, but they don't want to split the Best Lead Actress vote, so both of them are thrown in Supporting Actress, and they're probably going to split the vote and neither will win. But I'm finally seeing more critics starting to put Rachel Weisz as a frontrunner for this category, which I think is great because her performance in The Favorite killed me. There's a scene where she's talking to Olivia Colman's character through a wall, and she says, "I will not lie, that is love," and again, I'm not delivering it well. I can't act. But that line in the context it's in and just the entire scene is one of the most emotional and beautiful relationships I've seen on film in a long time. And I think she definitely deserves more recognition for that. But then this award is most likely, if we ignore the whole Screen Actors Guild nomination issue, would go to Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk. Again, I need to watch this movie. I'm seeing it probably the day this video will come out. But I've heard she's absolutely great in it. She's definitely a front runner. She's won like Golden Globes and a lot of the prerequisites. And then we have Best Actor. I think this is Rami Malek's award, surprisingly. I don't see Bohemian Rhapsody as getting all that many nominations, but I can see him winning this because of how well he did in the Golden Globes, and he saved the movie from being a complete mess, and he was pretty convincing. I have Viggo Mortensen here. I know he's had some scandals, but in a movie that got so like popular, I can not see him falling out of the category at this late in the game. I would love to see maybe John David Washington here instead of him, but the last spot I actually gave to Ethan Hawke, who out of all of them I think most deserves the award. His performance in First Reformed is absolutely incredible. It's deep, it's emotional, it's one of my favorite movies of the year, and so I think that is going to edge John David Washington out of the category a bit. And for second to last, we have Best Actress. Now, this is one that I may not agree with a lot of the critics on who should win. I personally believe that this should be Olivia Colman's award. I do respect what Lady Gaga has done to become an actress, and I do think she was pretty good in one of the better things about A Star is Born. Made fun of her a lot at the Golden Globes. They made a joke that I think was it 100 people in the room? I don't remember exactly, but I know there was some sort of Lady Gaga joke going on, so I don't see her as winning. And then a lot of other people have Glenn Close for The Wife in there. That movie, I didn't hear it was all that good. I think it was carried by its acting. They say, I've heard that it's maybe a nomination for her entire career, but I'm not really sure what career they're nominating her for. I went through her IMDb. It seems like she played some like femme fatale characters in the 80s. Cruella de Vil, Nova, and Guardians of the Galaxy, and she was the narrator of some Earth documentary, and I don't really see any of those as big, like, Oscar Best Actress things, so I'm not really sure what exactly she's getting nominated for, but I can see she may win because of that, but I think the award should be going to Olivia Colman for The Favorite. Honestly, I wish they could just slice the Oscar into three pieces and split it between all of the lead actresses in The Favorite. If you watch the dance scene in The Favorite where Rachel Weisz's character, Lady Sarah, is dancing with this, I think it's some politician guy, and they keep cutting to the Queen's face, just those facial expressions, just Olivia Colman's character's reaction to the scene, everything in that moment is just that's an Oscar right there. Like just that scene in general, I think was absolutely incredible. And then I have an award going in for Can You Ever Forgive Me, which I think they're going to reward with some acting nominations in place of a Best Picture nomination. And then I also have one for the lead in Roma because Roma may be the Best Picture this year, and it pretty much never happens where a Best Picture winner does not get any acting nominations. And I think that the Academy can get good press if they nominate someone who isn't as well known by the public. And then for Best Picture nominees, yeah, I liked about half of these. I put Black Panther in there because I I was kind of on the side of okay, yeah, Black Panther's getting one just to make superhero movies seem like a more legitimate genre. But then I saw someone's interpretation of the movie, and I remembered how I felt when I first saw it, and the whole thing about colonialism and imperialism and like the different international relations. And the movie's more than a superhero movie, I think. You may also notice I don't have Bohemian Rhapsody or First Man or Mary Poppins Returns or all those other movies people are starting to throw in at the end now. I also didn't put Cold War. I think that may slip in a director nomination possibly, but I don't see it as very likely. I would like it is a movie that I would kind of enjoy seeing in more awards, but I don't see it as pulling a Best Picture nomination this late in the game. Again, Roma, I think, is the front runner along with Green Book, who people have been talking about since the beginning, but I think it's definitely being hurt by all the things. And then I also see The Star is Born as a front runner, but again, it's a remake and it has Lady Gaga, so that's also going to hurt it. And then Roma is hurt by being Netflix and a foreign language film, which is a whole double thing that's going to hurt it with some of the older members of the Academy. So that leaves a fourth front runner for me. I think The Favorite's actually a front runner at this point. It's it's kind of Oscar bait, I'll admit it. Kira's been making fun of me for how much I loved this movie, but I can see it as even getting some of the people who would have voted for Phantom Thread in the past. Or I don't know, I feel like this movie's definitely like getting a lot more traction, and I've seen so many great reviews from it. I'm glad people feel the same way as me. And then Black Klansman was one of the most culturally relevant movies right now, and I absolutely loved it. I don't think it's getting Best Picture though. It was pretty good, but I don't see it having as much hype as the other ones. But it may pull through again because it's not. No one really seems to hate it, so it couldn't pull a. I don't. I'm trying to think of an example of a movie that did this recently, but it could just be like, okay, no one really. Oh, Shape of Water, yeah. So it may pull a Shape of Water where no one really hated it, so it pulls through and comes to the top. I've seen critics starting to push If Beale Street Could Talk off their lists because it's not getting as much traction, and it got pushed out of a bunch of award ceremonies. I still can see it as being a contender, not for the win, but as a nomination. So I'm leaving it on my list. And then my last movie that I haven't talked about, that's a nomination, is Vice. Everyone has this on their lists. I can see how this could get the same thing as Big Short where it gets a nomination, but I hated this movie so much. But you know what? Some people liked it. I think it was a complete waste of Amy Adams, but you know what? So yeah, those are my Oscar nomination predictions. My voice is getting really hoarse. See you in another video, guys. Bye.